I bought a house at 21 and I genuinely had no idea what I was doing. No finance background, I never read a book about money. I wasn't a smart guy in school and nobody handed me anything. I just ended up doing it, and looking back, the only reason it worked is because I already understood the system. I just didn't know it yet, because the way you build wealth in real life, it runs on the exact same mechanics as the games most of us have played since we were kids. And in this video I'm going to break that down. How I actually saved 30,000 euros living at home, how the mortgage worked, and the mindset shift that made all of it make sense to me. So first of all, I want to be upfront about something before we go further, because this is not a flex video. I'm not here to show off my house or pretend I figured out the secret that nobody else knows, but I'm here because I was 21, I had zero financial knowledge, and somehow I made this work. And if I can show you the logic behind it in a way that actually makes sense, that's worth more than any course you'd pay for. So let's dive straight into this. So I think we all used to play GTA online, and I did too. I was kind of obsessed with like the passive income side of the game. Like I generally spent hours setting up the optimal businesses like the nightclub, the bunker, the CEO stuff, just so I could make money while I was doing other things like the Cayo Perico heist, the Clucking Bell heist, and generally just messing around in the game. And at some point I realized this is just how money works in real life too. The mechanic is identical. You either trade your time for money directly over and over with no progress saved, or you build systems that generate income while you're doing other things. In GTA, everybody knows the passive income meta. Every player understands it, but in real life, most people are still doing the small things like robbing corner stores and spending it the same day. And I don't mean they're robbing stores in real life, I'm just making, a comparison. I get why, because in the game, the payoff is fast, and in real life, it takes years. So it feels like it's not working. But the system is the same. You just have to be willing to play a longer game. And that realization is what changed things for me. Then there's the grind phase, because before you get the passive income part, you have to actually build the capital to make it happen. Let's take World of Warcraft for example. There's this thing where you level up skills. There's mining, fishing, whatever. And you just grind the same action day after day, and the skill level goes from 1 to 50 to 150 and heck to wherever. And at some point you unlock content that other players can't access. And it feels pointless the whole time, but suddenly it's not anymore. That's what the early phase of building money actually looks like. It's boring, it's repetitive, and nothing feels like it's happening. And that's exactly when it's working. Most people already understand this mechanic. They've run it in games for years. The only step that's missing is applying it to real money instead of a character sheet. So what did this actually look like for me day to day? Because I want to be real about it. It wasn't inspiring, it was just a simple routine. I lived at home, and yeah, I know, the question then comes to mind, just to live at home at that age. But yeah, intentionally. Because living at home means your biggest expense basically doesn't exist. Every month I wasn't paying rent was a month that money went somewhere useful instead. So after school, I went straight to work. I didn't go to home first. I didn't take a break. I just went to work. So weekends were the same, like almost every single weekend for years. And I'm not saying I never went out or had fun, because I did, but I was pretty intentional about when I spent time and when I spent money. Most days felt like absolutely nothing was happening. And that's the thing about the grind. It's invisible while it's actually working. On top of the regular job, I actually had a small side hustle, I'd say. I was a DJ. And before you imagine something like really cool, it just started with simple birthday parties or family events, small local events, nothing glamorous at all. But here's why it mattered. It was extra income that most people my age didn't have. A skill I could sell, and those small gigs compounded over time in a way that felt meaningless in the moment but added up to something real. Think of it like, I don't know, woodcutting in an RPG. You spend weeks cutting logs and nobody cares, but then one day you've got this many logs and you can build things other players can't even think about. A side hustle doesn't have to be your passion, it just has to be something that someone is willing to pay for. So by the time I was 21, I had about 30,000 euros saved, and I want to be honest, there were moments I wanted to spend it. Like I was always dreaming of a nice car, some expensive clothes, and I thought about it more than just once. But I kept coming back to the bigger picture. And every time I said no to the short term, the end game got a little closer. And 30,000 euros sounds like a lot, but broken down over years of not paying rent and working every weekend, it's actually just a result of not spending what you earn. And that's the whole secret. It's boring, but it works. So let's talk about the actual purchase. Because this is where most people check out and assume it's not for them. A mortgage is simple in concept, like the bank lends you money to buy a house and you pay it back every month with interest, and that's about it. The bank is a tool, it's not a gatekeeper. You just need to understand how to use it. Because the more money you bring yourself up front, like your own contribution, the better the conditions you get. Because the bank sees you as less of a risk. Like my 30,000 euros told the bank this person is serious and this person has discipline, and that number opened the door for me. I want to be very honest about this whole situation because I want to be very transparent about everything. I didn't do this completely alone, and I want to be very clear about that. My dad co-signed the mortgage with me. So the total loan was about 290,000 euros, and my share is about 60% of that, and my father's share is 40%. And before you comment something, this was not a handout. This was like teamwork. His name on the loan gave the bank more confidence in a 21-year-old with no long credit history. And that's the value of it. In any game, you don't go into a hard boss fight alone if you have a party available. But I pay my part every single month, and this is a shared responsibility, not like some free rides. And I think that distinction matters because a lot of people either refuse help because of pride and miss the opportunity, or they take the help and they don't pull their weight. Neither of them works like long term. So when I started this process, I generally didn't know what anything meant in this buying house thing. I didn't know how registration taxes work. I didn't understand what it costs to be eating food every month and stuff. And I figured it out the same way I figured out every game I've ever played. But the information is out there, and the barrier isn't giving a finance degree. It's just starting. So that's the full picture. The mindset that made it click, the grind that built the capital, how the mortgage actually worked. None of this required being smart or lucky or having the perfect setup. It required understanding that the system you've been running in games your whole life, they exist in real life too. You just have to be willing to run them for longer because you see the payoff. If you're doing the grind right now, saving, trying to figure out the first steps, or just starting to think about this, drop it in the comments because I genuinely read them and I want to know where you're at. If you like this video, subscribe so you don't miss anything new. Thank you for watching.